World Development System. Chapter 81. Jake just arrived after completing his mission at Redwood City. He saw that there was a commotion going on near the restaurant where his mother worked and decided to check what was going on over there. Jake saw that her mother was bleeding profusely as some people from the restaurant were helping her. Watching this scene, Jake was able to control his feelings as he saw her mother bleeding and thought, "Surprisingly, I was able to control my feelings when I saw Mom bleeding. Back in the past I would have surely been enraged and acted rashly. It seems that my training had a lot of effects on my body, but it was the mental state that changed me the most. I wouldn't have realized about this unless I encountered such an incident." Jake calmly approached her mother as he saw her bleeding, as he wanted to know about the situation. As soon as he saw Evan Laguna, he understood what was going on over here. He remembered the past events as he saw Evan. "I don't know if I should regret or rejoice over helping that poor girl Barbara from the hedonistic schemes of this silk pant Duke Laguna. This time he will pay dearly for hurting Mom. I will make sure he feels that same amount of pain that I did all these months as a slave at Pearl City." Jake looked at Evan sharply. This clearly reflected his cold demeanor and killing intentions. Evan smiled as he saw Jake and said, "So it seems your whole family was bought here. From the looks, it seems you still haven't changed that annoying look from your face. I guess your master is taking good care of you. You should just have behaved like a slave, just like your mother, as you are a slave. I wonder if your master would choose to protect you and your family, or he would rather choose to offend me and House Laguna for mere slaves." Evan's knights talked among themselves. The first knight said, "The lord here is a mere honorary baron on the outskirts of the borders with a few good institutions which could be ruined any time. I am sure, the baron here will fawn over Lord Evan like all the others." Other knight said, "That's not quite true. The baron here had previously offended Prince Hector indirectly at the auction, so we can't be sure." The first knight grinned and said, "I guess you don't know the full story. Many say that the baron here was clearly ignorant of the factions and how they worked in the upper class, and hence he unknowingly offended Prince Hector. I am sure that the baron is currently regretting his actions and hence tried to make allies at the south in hopes of getting protection, but the geography alone won't help him even if they wished to help his domain. He could at most get small help from them, and a lot of his money will eventually be squeezed out by those traders in the south. I think the Lord is trying to show this baron his place by putting him in a difficult position." Another knight said, "I guess this is because of Lord's long travel to get good food here, as he heard about it and eventually meeting this family that pissed him off. Additionally, buying them wasn't a problem, but treating them like valued slaves is what pissed off Lord more, as he hoped to teach this family a lesson, as that boy previously ruined our plans." The first knight raised his sword, pointed at Jake and said to him, "Hey kid, why aren't you kneeling now that you are in front of Lord Evan? Don't you know the laws for slaves?" Duel meanwhile was watching this show keenly as he thought, "Let's see how he deals with this situation. He is quite calm, unlike what I thought previously. It seems he is currently analyzing his opponent and his chances of succeeding. It seems analyzing his opponents has become an instinct for him after his training period." Jake furrowed his brows as he heard the knight. He was already angry after watching her mother bleed. This time instead he replied to the knight with a mischievous smile, "What if I don't? What can you do to me? Mind you, your lord doesn't own this land. So piss off already with those bunch of thugs." Behind his smile, there was a good scheme going on how to bait the knight, as he pretty much understood the mindset of these knights who were full of pride and honor, as he intentionally and provocatively said the last words. The knight was quite angry as he had never seen a slave talking back to him in such a way. He felt incredibly humiliated. Jake's baiting worked as the knight roared and dashed towards Jake with his sword without asking anyone's permission, as it was implicitly implied that slaves never had any legal rights even if they died, and most of the time, the matter could be solved by paying their initial costs. The knight roared loudly, "You surely have quite a vicious tongue, as you managed to anger me. I hope you are as good as your tongue in combat." Jake grinned and continued to provoke him, "I am sure you have the same skills when it comes to combat." One of the knights said as he saw this scene, "That kid is a goner. He is only a slave, or does he really think he has any rights? Marcus will try to torture and kill him slowly." Even if his lord comes and begs to spare his worthless life, this kid will most likely be killed or disabled for the rest of his life." Another knight laughed and said, "Are you kidding me? Do you really think any lord would stake his reputation and humiliate himself for sparing a mere slave? It would have been a different case if it was a valuable knight or magician. And as for the fate of this kid, he most likely would die by his sword in the next clash if Marcus is merciful. If not, like you previously said, he would die a torturous and painful death. However, the biggest thing is that the lord of this domain will anyway be humiliated now that the situation has risen to these levels." One of the knights noticed a peculiarity and said to others, "Hey, don't you guys think that the guys who protected the women over there are quite calm right now compared to the situation previously?" Another knight smiled as grinned and said, "Maybe they think just because this kid trained a bit, he can fight with the personal knights of Lord Evan." Marcus is one of the knights from Lord Fjord's Knight Order who later followed Lord Evan on the orders of Lord so that he could be protected at all times. "I have some news which you guys don't know about. From the rumors I heard that Marcus is a magic knight who has been hiding his true strength all the time since 2 years ago. If those guys have something up their sleeve, then they are in for a surprise." Jay watched the scene as he smiled, as he had already known of Jake's success in his last mission. However, he was still very alert when it came to the protection of Martha and the movements of those knights. At the mansion, one of Duel's men came and reported to Taylor, "I urgently want to meet Lord John in person. This matter is of great urgency. I hope I can meet the Lord at earliest." Taylor saw the urgency in man's tone as he replied to him in a serious tone, "Okay, wait here for a minute, I will inform Lord immediately." Chapter 82. Taylor entered John's room as he received his permission. Taylor approached John and said to him, "Lord, I think there is a situation where we would need your advice." One of Mr. Duel's men have come to report about the situation at Hope. He has said if any of the nobles' knights make a move on Jake collectively, then they will protect Jake without any hesitation. However, he wanted your confirmation on whether to keep those knights alive or not. John thought a bit and understood what was going on. It's okay, I too would have protected Jake anyway since we have trained together. I guess Master intended to protect him if I decided to not risk because of the political gains. It's good that they have already received the orders to protect Jake. Come, I will head there immediately and deal with the situation directly and see who is this noble that is arrogant enough to provoke my men in my domain. Meanwhile, notify the warriors and tell them to head towards Hope so that we can control the situation as we like." At the marketplace, there was a ruckus still going on. Both sides were hiding their aces up in a bid to surprise each other. Marcus charged at Jake first without any big movements. It seemed that Marcus wanted a close fight with Jake, watching his physical movements. Jake was in a defensive stature with his rusty knife as he saw Marcus charging at him. This time, as he saw Marcus charging at him, he too charged at him with only his rusty knife. There was a cold, ruthless look in his eyes which screamed that he would definitely kill Marcus, unlike the previous times. Duel smiled as he saw Jake's look and said to his confidants, "It looks like he has already made up a decision and is ready to kill this guy. Keep a lookout for other guys if they try to interfere. Immediately pass on my orders, not to interfere in this duel with that knight, only interfere when other knights interfere." Confidant seriously thought as he saw Jake and immediately passed his orders. One of the knights opened betting between themselves. "How many clashes do you think this kid would last?" Evan mocked as he said, "How much can this kid really last? I hope he lasts more, as he can be tortured for his insolence time and again. I have already tolerated enough of the bullshit from this guy. Last time around he ruined my plans when he bought off the debts of that girl whom I was intending to buy after planning for such a long time. That bitch even ran off to some place which I couldn't even track." Another knight saw and said, "I guess he would last 7 clashes since he is trained from the look of his movements and defensive posture." "What was the best when you guys dueled Marcus previously?" The second knight said as he remembered his duel. "Well, I only dueled him twice and my best was about 10 clashes. What about you? Do you know what's the best record?" Henry said in a carefree as well as serious tone, Previously he was the guy who speculated Jake and others hiding something. He said, "Well, the best record from what I heard is 15 clashes. As for me, ha ha ha, I lasted 7 clashes when I dueled him once, so don't mind me. This kid is quite unlucky to have provoked Marcus. Both he and his lord will be humiliated today regardless of any measures. And you guys should be vigilant now, it seems some forces are moving over here in an organized manner. I guess the lord of this domain will be heading soon over here." Henry meanwhile murmured in a small tone frustratingly, "Why the hell did I suggest Lord Evan to come here far away from Eastern capital over here after hearing rumors about this place? I guess this ruckus will become big this time around." He sighed as he murmured the last sentence. One of the knights smilingly looked at Henry as understood his dilemma. "Well, it's okay, I understand you hope to bring Lord away so that there would be fewer problems. Anyways, I hope this mess is solved soon, however I don't think it will be solved unless that kid dies." Henry sighed as he said, "Well, we all know the routine anyway." Both Marcus and Jake clashed for the first time after their charge. As soon as they clashed, both of them created sparks as their weapon collided. Both Marcus and Jake were pushed back after their first clash. Marcus was quite surprised after his first clash with the kid. Marcus thought after the first clash, "This kid has quite a lot of power behind his charge. I should be careful just in case it gets dangerous. This kid is leaking killing intent unintentionally even though he is good at trying to hide it. From the looks it can be seen that he has already killed people. I think this would get dangerous." Jake charged faster this time as he closed in on Marcus using his skill, Stealthy Steps of Hell. He used it to increase his speed during combat. This time the knights were quite surprised after watching the last confrontation. They weren't as carefree this time as they were previously. Henry nodded knowingly and said in a serious tone, "As expected, this guy is quite different from other guys who use knives and blades. Unlike running around everywhere, he is targeting the vulnerable body parts of his enemies head-on in an aggressive manner with a lot of power. This fight could be a rare opportunity for us to actually witness Marcus's true power as Magic Knight if rumors are true." Marcus murmured as he prepared to take Jake's charge, "Let's first look at his skills." Marcus defended himself this time as he took Jake's next slash head-on with his sword in a calm manner. He successfully defended against Jake's fast attack as he predicted the trajectory of his attack from the right. Jake scratched his body for the first time, but as Marcus had a full body armor, it protected him from getting inflicted with poison from the blade. They clashed on for few more minutes as Marcus this time decided to use magic as he was getting cornered by the fast-paced aggressive attacks of Jake. He started using wind magic that he applied it to his sword to reduce wind resistance so that there would be a change in the speed of his charge. Very few people noticed this change, however. Jake was different, unlike others. As soon as he sensed the changes on the sword as well as the body of Marcus, he understood that Marcus was using magic, however he couldn't determine which magic. Marcus charged in a very fast speed towards Jake with heavy killing intent this time as he hoped to shock Jake and finish this duel faster as he felt this was getting a lot dangerous. Marcus thought, "He is surely stronger than all the knights which I have fought earlier except maybe that phony guy Henry. However, it has already been 20 clashes now and I am one who is getting cornered because of his fast speed." There was no hesitation from Marcus as he attacked Jake ruthlessly. Watching this, Jake for the first time showed heavy killing intent that people can see as he unintentionally wrapped his rusty knife with dark magic. As soon as the dark magic connected with the rusty parts of the knife, it started glowing like it had magic runes engraved on them. For the first time, people could see the difference in the rusty magic blade that Jake carried. Jake had tried wrapping dark magic with the rusty knife during his trainings, but it was always a failure as it needed very high control and power to wrap this seemingly rusty knife. However, at this crunch moment, he was able to achieve this feat unintentionally. Watching this from the sidelines, Duel was shocked when he saw the knife got sharp lines that he witnessed after it was wrapped in dark magic which got released by Jake. Duel thought, he already mastered wrapping his magic in that rusty knife. The fact that he has dark magic is very beneficial for him. I now understand why Master has taken a liking to this guy. Meanwhile at Diana's mansion, there was a man who came with a report. This report was currently in the hands of Diana. She sipped her tea as she said to Vlad after reading the letter, "It seems there will be a show to watch for now in Elias. What do you think, how would it play out?" Vlad said with his usual smile, "Well, he already has enough strength to protect himself. As for how it would play out, this will only help us weed out the undesirables." Chapter 83. Diana spoke seriously, unlike her jolly self. "That's true, that weapon will change a lot of dimensions in naval and land warfare. Meanwhile, Father has approved your request which you made earlier. From now on Ballista House will support North Frontier Town to their fullest. It seems it was because of this weapon that changed the opinion of elders in the house and Father was able to openly support you." Vlad spoke with a happy tone as he smiled after hearing the good news. "It's good, or else I would have to support them in my personal capacity as I already gave him my word." Diana said smilingly, "Well, I too would have supported this city as I have taken quite a liking to this ever-changing city, so you don't have to worry much if it comes to funds. Additionally, John is quite interesting, unlike others who I have always encountered." "What about that guy who was training under you?" "Ooh, let's first head to the site and check where the fight is going on." Vlad said, "You don't have to worry about him. I had already given orders to Duel to keep Jake safe if John is hesitating to protect him." "Well, he would anyway protect him, but I still don't want to take any chances if there is a communication problem with him and his men. So I just wanted to make sure if he is safe." Diana smiled as she spoke her thoughts. "As always, you are prepared for all the extreme situations. I wonder what sort of things you don't take into your plans." She knew he would always take more precautions even if her father didn't give him orders. Vlad thought a bit, smiled and spoke smilingly, "I wouldn't have taken those new Ballista into account if I was kept in dark about them. So I guess even I don't know what will happen in the future. What I can do is hope for the best and prepare for the worst, so that's my motto." The rusty knife now seemed sharp after it was wrapped in dark magic. As soon as both of them clashed with their weapons, there was a heavy sound of metals colliding with sparks appearing. However, after 2 more hits, Jake sliced through the sword which Marcus was wielding. Jake without any hesitation reached for the throat as he intended to kill him with his first blow. All the people in the sidelines were shocked and alarmed after watching this scene. Shocked after watching the scene, one of the knights spoke with a dry throat, "How could that rusty knife slice through Marcus's famed sword like it is mere scrap metal?" Henry thought as he saw Evan, so Marcus was always hiding his wind magic, and it was quite surprising to see that kid using dark magic. "I guess we have to be prepared for slaughter, as Lord won't leave this kid alive as he understands of the dangers lying if he is kept alive. However, that demon over there is quite dangerous if I make a move on this kid." Henry thought as he saw Duel, who was observing their men from the crowd. Martha was quite nervous from the start as she spotted Evan earlier had come to North Frontier City with his whole entourage. She knew that there will be a ruckus today. However, she hoped that the day passes without any trouble, as she didn't want to burden John with problems of her past. As she saw the events folding right now, she was quite shocked after watching Jake's capability as a fighter. From the gossip of knights and others, she understood that Jake was an accomplished fighter himself. She was very much worried about Jake as she saw the duel unfold in front of her eyes. She was quite horrified as she saw Jake going for a kill as soon as both of them started showing their magic. Evan too was quite shocked after watching this scene. After this shock, there was a sharp, ruthless glint in his eyes which was filled with heavy killing intent as he decided that this kid can't be left alive. Evan immediately ordered his knights to save Marcus as he would die if he didn't do anything to save him. Evan roared towards Jake, "Kid, if you dare kill Marcus, I will make sure you and your family will die a painful death. You wouldn't want your brothers to be crippled, right?" As Jake heard him, killing intent rose from his body as he decided to charge towards Marcus more ruthlessly. Jake roared at Evan as he aimed for the kill, "I will make sure this man suffers and dies because of your arrogance." Evan roared furiously as he heard Jake as he ordered his men, "Go, Kill that kid, he can't be left alive. Make sure to at least disable him so he can't be a threat for me in the future. I don't care about the consequences, make sure he is dead. Meanwhile, John just arrived with his men at the site, as he saw that Jake was going for the throat of Marcus. John smiled as he saw this scene. John thought, it looks like he has matured quite a bit after his latest mission and decided to bury the hatchet from his past today. Duel said to his men as saw movements within the ranks of Duke Evan's men, it seems that he has decided to make a move. Go and protect the kid, make sure no one interferes in this duel. Since they chose to duel, they should be prepared for death as well. Go and stop those knights, you can kill them at will since they already broke the laws of interfering in a duel. Henry saw John smile as he ordered one of his men, prepare a carriage, if worse comes to worst, we will run with Lord. Make sure, Lord doesn't know anything about it. Jake saw that there was an arrow aimed at him that came from Duke Evan. He ignored the arrow that was aimed at him as he had already decided to kill Marcus and make a move towards Duke if required. Jake pierced Marcus's throat multiple times as he charged towards him. While he was targeting Marcus, an arrow pierced his back. One of Duel's men came and protected Jake as he saw an arrow coming which pierced Jake. Evan was quite furious as he saw Jake completely ignore his warning and arrow as he continued to target Marcus without an inch of hesitation. Let's see how he escapes the toxin of that arrow. After multiple stabs, Marcus tightly held his neck as he breathed for air. He was quite shocked and alarmed that his famed sword, which was imbued with wind magic, was pierced so easily by that rusty knife. He again saw that kid, but this time his eyes were filled with horror as he realized that he was at the end of the rope as he squealed hard for his life. This time his eyes lost the light of life as he dropped on the ground with his eyes wide open. Watching this, all the people present were shocked after realizing that Marcus was already dead while Jake's back was pierced with a poisonous arrow that was shot by Evan. Henry sighed as he saw this scene and thought, quite a dangerous and ruthless kid, we have to escape fast or we will be in trouble. It's good that he is already poisoned. Henry ordered his men, make sure to protect the Lord if that kid tries anything funny. You know our families will be implicated as well if anything happens to the Lord. Chapter 84. Henry meanwhile stealthily moved towards Jake as he thought, I have to kill that kid, Lord won't budge unless he sees his blood. And from the looks of people, this kid and his family seem quite important to this Baron. While from the way he demonstrated his battle capabilities, I am sure that this domain lord won't give up on that kid and his potential. Duel came behind Henry with his blade when Henry wanted to make a move on Jake from behind. Duel mocked Henry as pointed his blade behind his back. TCH TCH TCH, it is quite dishonorable to interfere in and after a duel, don't you think you so? Henry let out a dry laugh and raised both his hands as he heard Duel, I am just a regular knight following orders, do you really think I can even come close or manage to land a scratch on that monster? And about honor? Who cares about honor when your life is at stake? Duel smiled cunningly as he saw Henry, you may fool others, but you can't fool me. I can see that you are using quite a high-level technique to conceal your true aura as well as your mana. And the very fact that you don't have care about any honor implies that you are more dangerous than the other muscleheads over there. Henry sighed at Duel's answer as he spoke to him, It seems you have quite outstanding and unique eyes if you can even detect my aura and magic. Very few people could actually detect my aura. Without saying anything, Duel immediately charged towards Henry as Henry dodged Duel's attack and both of them got locked into an intense confrontation with each other. After a while, Jake removed the arrow that was stuck on his back. He looked at the direction from where the arrow came from. Meanwhile, Evan saw that Henry was confronting Duel and he was pretty much frustrated at the turn of the events. Evan then prepared to shoot another poisonous arrow at Jake, so he thought to nip the bud while he is still growing. Jake saw that another arrow was coming towards him. He again filled his rusty knife with dark magic and threw it towards Evan's direction with great killing intent while he dodged the arrow this time. Watching this, Henry was pretty much very alarmed as he saw Jake throwing the knife at Evan's direction. Henry whistled to give a signal as he confronted Duel, one of the knights came to defend Evan as the knife thrown by Jake pierced his arm and scratched Evan's hand, who was being protected by him. The man protecting Evan collapsed on the ground, grabbing his right hand, while Evan had a pretty scary face where he faced death for the first time in his life. He screamed hoarsely as the knife scratched his hand. Jake thought in frustration, it seems that his poison was quite potent. Jake fell on the ground with great reluctance after this encounter. John saw this scene as he ordered Taylor, "Go and tell Jay to keep him safe, bring him to Grandma Melanie's pharmacy or Masters Vlad's men, just so we remain vigilant." Henry backed off as he saw Jake falling to the ground and came back to Evan's side. Henry saw the scene as he thought, it seems Lord used a specialized poisonous arrow from the start. Good, this at least reduces my work. I hope Lord isn't too stubborn and pursues this matter for retaining face. I guess he will be very angry to find that Marcus is dead. Henry saw that the guy who was protecting Lord was writhing in pain, and the same was true for the Lord, who was gritting his teeth so he doesn't lose face in front of commoners. I guess that slave aimed to make a mockery of Lord before trying to kill him. Hey, come and bring one of those potions to alleviate Lord's pain. Henry ordered one of his men. Evan roared towards John as soon as he saw him. How do you intend to solve this matter? I hope to get a satisfactory answer, or else this matter won't be forgotten by House Laguna. There will be big consequences since you can't even control your slaves. One of the knights gossiped, I guess Lord is quite angry at the death of Marcus. I don't think he will leave this matter even if he gets the heads of this slave's family. I am expecting him to humiliate this Lord and extort the hell out of him. Henry laid out his thoughts as he heard one of the knights, well, I guess this is in favor of Laguna House as well, since we would anyway want a reason to raid ships traveling north and south. This can perfectly stop trade between Southern Domain and this town where there is a massive amount of money involved nowadays. This would force this domain lord to trade via land and pay taxes, which would inevitably increase his costs. Duke was anyways looking towards this big pie of North-South Sea trade. Even that baron who sold this town is quite happy as he is getting a lot of taxes from his port town in the east. John scoffed at Evan's words as he rebuked him harshly, mind you, this is my land and it is my laws which work here. And as for the incident, even if we go according to kingdom laws for nobles, from the current information, it was your men who started a duel and it was on your orders that they interfered in the duel. Had it been other way round, I wonder how much more enraged you would get hearing your knight's death. Henry interjected, it is well within our rights for protecting a knight in a duel if his opponent is using coercive techniques to fight, which included assassin techniques. It will only sully the honor of knight if he dies unjustly in a duel. John interrupted him as he spoke strong words to Henry with an imposing manner, a duel which was imposed on my men by your arrogant knight, for which he paid the price by underestimating him. Speaking of coercive techniques, didn't your lord used quite a potent poison arrow to injure my men when the duel was going on? And the word honor doesn't suit you from the way you are hiding your aura or mana. Henry seriously gave his defense. Lord had already warned him before releasing the arrow, there was nothing dishonorable when he intended to save one of his knights from mindless slaughter. Your uneducated slave ignored his warning even after hearing him and continued to attack. John rebuked when heard his words. The duel had already started, it was either Jake's death or his opponent's death. I wonder what would have happened if the situation was reversed. I am sure your lord would have tried to humiliate me or killed him in the most ruthless way in case I was not present. Evan waved his hand that signaled Henry to stop. Enough, Henry. With cold and sharp eyes, Evan looked at John. So you intend to protect a slave and offend Laguna House over him even though we have legitimate reasons to kill him? Even if you wish to protect him, there will be consequences and you will suffer for protecting him. If you are regretting over previous statements because of false bravado in front of your people, there is still a chance. If you still wish to undo the previous incident, all you have to do is beg for mercy and hand over that family to me, as I am more pissed over that brat trying to claim my life. John laughed as he heard him. We will see who will suffer. As for begging mercy and handing over my men, you can dream on. John thought as he heard his arrogant tone, who will believe in me if I hand over my men? You think I am that naive? Everyone watching this scene was quite happy, as this further assured them of the previous promises given by John and Co earlier, because most of the people would have mostly given up the slave instead of offending a duke. Chapter 85. Henry sighed. However, he was quite happy as the situation toned down a bit, as there was a little chance of fight to occur now. He thought, it's good that Lord is calm, unlike other instances at the capital or elsewhere in the kingdom where he would cause a bigger ruckus most of the time. I guess the previous scare from that brat did the trick, and maybe he still hopes to coerce that Lord to hand over that brat, as he feels he is more dangerous than he was in the past. Henry came near Evan's side and whispered, Lord, I think it would be better if we leave, since we don't even have enough forces to back us up if we want to cause any ruckus, and you are already injured, so we should be cautious in case that knife is poisonous. Henry's eyes could see what Evan's eyes couldn't see in the knife, as he said to Evan. Evan ignored him as his hand was still in pain and looked towards John with a very sharp gaze. I had quite a good impression of this city. Originally, I even wanted to invest in this town, but I guess it won't be the case anymore, and that was also the reason I didn't try to extort you over the previous incident. Since you value that slave's life more than your chance at friendship with our Laguna family, I guess you have already made your decision. You should be prepared for the consequences and face the wrath of House Laguna for your foolish actions. Remember this, seas will be stormy whenever you and your allies travel from now on. Evan looked at a certain direction as he spotted Vlad, who had just arrived. Evan turned back, drank his potion as he looked towards Henry and gave him orders, bring back Marcus's corpse, we are leaving immediately. We will contact Duke Blackwolf again. Ask him if his offer still stands or not. Prepare to contact that Baron in Dolores as well. Remember to write a letter to Father mentioning today's incident as well. Tell him we will not be investing here anymore. Father was quite optimistic, as this foolish lord didn't pay any respects to Duke Norman over his indirect offense of Prince Hector. However, it seems he is truly foolish and doesn't know his real place. The very fact that he is alive is because of that man over there. I wonder what he would do if a lot of forces gather and target him. Evan pointed towards Vlad's direction before ending his remarks. Evan murmured as he left, although I did not take any action today, this humiliation will not be forgotten. Baron John, you will pay for your foolishness and this humiliation. Henry heard him as he saw Vlad. He later left to get Marcus's corpse and thought, why would that noble risk his territory over a single slave? Even that guy can't help him if he offends too many people. It seems Lord was quite angry this time around, as he really wanted things to work when he arrived here. Most importantly, I wonder how Marcus's brother will react after hearing news of his brother's death. Henry sighed as he thought, I guess things were not meant to work, as Lord abhors slaves, while this Lord is exactly the opposite of that, as can be seen by the reactions of everyone watching this scene. John ordered Taylor as he heard the threats of Evan, keep a watch on their men, call Tornwall to my chambers straight away. There will be an important meeting which he has to attend. Diana smirked as she arrived at the scene and read the reports on the events which took place before her arrival. We will have a big show now that one more guy wants a piece in this pie called North Frontier Town. Meanwhile, that boy surprised me quite a lot, he improved too much in such a short amount of time. Even that brat Duel is showing some respect to him after he collapsed. Vlad meanwhile was quite happy after watching the performance of both Jake and John. He was quite surprised that Jake was able to kill Marcus, who was caught off guard in the duel. Vlad nostalgically spoke, I guess the true potential of a man is only seen when he is in a pinch, and I think Jake just proved that right today. Maybe his previous experience at Redwood City and his past with Evan triggered today's performance. However, his life would have been in danger if not for the resistance that he acquired during his training period. However, it seems that John has quite some abilities to identify that guy's aura from such a long distance. I wonder if he again modified any of his techniques. Diana laid out her thoughts. Elders in the house are quite unhappy with us supporting John. It seems a lot of them have mixed up interests with Prince Hector, and they are only reluctantly supporting us because of economic interests. Did you got any news from their side? Vlad smiled and spoke, I already knew about their involvement in it. We won't have to worry about elders since I already have a solution for that. I guess it was your father's support that helped us this time around, however even he is under great pressure, it seems that the Lord has trusted my intuition this time around. This was the only genuine time where I hoped to help someone. Diana probed as she heard him. I guess it is because of that kid Jake, your past has a lot of similarities with that kid. However, yours is more gruesome and cruel. Diana saw that Vlad's face changed as he heard it, so she changed the topic. Anyway, we have to make sure that the ballistas are only incorporated into father's personal army and spies under you. I don't want those elders to ruin the surprise which is waiting for various aristocrats over here in Elias as well as those guys in neighboring countries. I bet we will have quite a show when everyone gets to know about the real firepower of that weapon. Vlad mocked the elders when heard about them and reported the current circumstances to Diana. Not to worry, mistress, I already received those orders from Lord and had implemented it. As for the elders, they will be dealt with as soon as possible when they try to make a coup with your uncle. However, those elders are quite cunning as they are making up rumors about you and our investments over here and that your Lord Father is only fulfilling your wishes. Diana smiled a bit and laughed as she heard about those rumors. Those rumors are good as nobody will think more than that. We can even give them a legitimate excuse to oppose us. We can sweep them up when they think we are foolish enough to make more enemies and are supporting John. Unknowingly, this place has become an eye of the storm in various countries and duchies. Quite amusing, isn't it? As for that foolish buffoon of the Duke, what do you think will happen? Vlad laid out his predictions as concluded the current situation. He will most probably target Morgan family fleets and the port town east of North Frontier City by negotiating a deal with that pussy baron. That's the most predictable outcome. As for Duke Blackwolf, his father Duke Fjord won't agree as there are various conflicts of interests between all the dukes. As for that guy himself, he will most probably be dead or be in bed for months. Currently, he is definitely suffering because of the poison and only showing fake bravado. However, I would worry if he dies, because this would escalate things a lot faster, though things would still be in control as long as Kingdom doesn't make a move on them. Chapter 86. Evan ordered his men as they prepared to leave in a hurry. We have had enough of humiliation at this shitty place, we are leaving immediately. At the end of the conclusion, everyone in the town cheered, which included slaves and commoners alike. The cheering was done by slaves in the most extravagant manner as this very event removed the knot that was tied in their hearts and minds for a long time. John was smiling from ear to ear after watching this event. However, it was not the same for all the officials. Many of the officials had different thoughts. This included Tornwall, who had mixed thoughts. We are making too many enemies, and that too in a short time. I guess this is what I would have thought if I never lived a life of a slave. However, after becoming a slave, I guess I now have a different opinion regarding John's decision. Watching this, Vlad thought and laid out his thoughts to Diana. So this was the reason why he defied that Duke. It seems he preferred to strengthen his long-term goals instead of short-term gains. A very wise choice by him. Diana was confused as she asked, "Why do you think so?" Practically looking, didn't he only make an enemy out of Duke Fjord? Vlad pointed towards the people cheering and remarked, "You see all those people celebrating? At some point, they will become John's biggest force and asset. Why do you think your father treats his people better compared to all other domains?" Diana spoke as she heard him. "Well, I thought it was inherent in father's nature." Vlad smiled as he asked, "Do you know why the royal family hates our guts?" Diana said in an obvious tone, "Well, we are strong and we have a long history where we defied them a lot, so that is one of the reasons why they hate us." Vlad explained, "Where do you think our strength comes from? It is from common people. Our men don't sell us out easily under pressure. It is harder to cause civil unrest by raising the issue of taxes. So there are a lot of factors. It's good that the elders understand when it comes to the internal interests of our family, however they still nag when it comes to lowering taxes. Well, let's go there, they are already waiting for us." So you got the gist why he is prioritizing long-term goals. Diana nodded in agreement as she signaled Maurice, "Okay, come, Maurice, we are heading at the square, inform our men. Vlad and Diana arrived at the square where all the officials were gathered in front of the Hope restaurant. Duel came and saluted Vlad as he began to give his report. Vlad came to Duel as he flicked him on his forehead with his finger and said, I heard you were previously enjoying the show when this incident took place. Duel frustratingly thought as he murmured, that lieutenant of mine must have ratted me out, I will make sure to make him work twice than he normally does. As for that incident, even if I did something, it would have escalated to these levels as that noble Evan had already recognized Martha's, so I thought why not let the fire flare and see the show. Duel smiled as he gave an understanding look, I am sure even you were surprised after watching that brat's performance, aren't you? As for that brat, he is already safe, our men gave him the medicine and he is resting for now. Vlad nodded as he spoke gravely, okay, enough of these boring reports, right now I need you to carry out an urgent mission. As you might already know, it is to tail Evan and his men, you will have to report his whereabouts and all the aristocrats he meets, inform me immediately if he comes in contact with Duke Blackwolf of the West. That guy is seriously funding a lot of pirates to raid our fleets nowadays. Recently he even tried to hijack our caravans heading to Fire Abyss Kingdom. It seems he is quite annoyed by these high-quality soaps. Meanwhile, Glenn and Prague had other thoughts as they saw the whole scene from the sidelines. Glenn laid out his thoughts to Prague, he is quite imposing and different from what I heard in the rumors. From this incident, I can at least expect him to protect us if the Imperial Academy tries to target us in the future. Prague touched his chin and added, quite different. However, from a practical point of view, he should have handed over that slave instead of offending Duke Evan, as the gains might not outweigh the losses. However, I am not sure if I am correct since there are a lot of factors which I don't know that Baron John might have considered. Glenn smiled, isn't that good? Since that guy is willing to protect a slave, I have no doubt he is a man who would protect all of his men. I was always worried that he doesn't hand us over if he is implicated with something big in the future. Glenn pointed at Diana as he asked, hey Prague, isn't that the famous princess from the Fire Abyss Kingdom? Prague nodded and confirmed, yes, from what I heard, she only moved here recently as she liked the city and was most happy about the food here. From the rumors, I heard that she even made various deals with Baron John, and that is also one of the reasons where his backing is coming from. That man beside her is Duke Ballista's right-hand man Vlad. Currently, he is working as her bodyguard. From the rumors, that man has quite a lot of authority in Ballista house and quite scary when he takes matters in his own hands. Vlad met John as he reached the square, quite unexpected coincidence that such an incident took place with Jake and his family today. Well, some things are meant to be the way they are. The only advice I can give you is that you should be careful regarding that port town, as that Baron is a pussy. When someone stronger gives him some pressure, you should immediately start the planning to either invade that port town or claim the wildlands north of port town so that you can have access to sea and your trade to south doesn't stop or get costlier because of all the taxes you will pay because of crossing the lands. As for Jake, he is already okay and would recover soon enough. I expect this incident to create a lot of waves in Elias. John gave a mysterious smile and shrugged, well, you can't expect me to give up my men, do you? No one in the future would believe in me if I even gave up on my first night. As for those waves, I already have a solution for those waves. Have you tailed him already? From what I know, he will try to make deals with a lot of nobles, however his only obstacle will be his brothers. Vlad nodded, well, no worries, they are already being tailed by Duel. There is some good and bad news. We will talk about them later. You should start making those ballistas earlier just to be safe. John nodded and gave an understanding look, okay, we will talk later. We will have to prepare from now on. Vlad and Diana left as they too headed to make their own preparations. John turned to Taylor as he gave an immediate order, bring both Tornwall and Jake to my chambers after he recovers. We will be having important discussions at this meeting. Make sure to inform them earlier. Chapter 87. Taylor nodded as he noted down the details, okay, I will immediately inform them about the importance of this meeting. Are there any other orders? John thought and asked, when are the tests going to take place exactly? Taylor replied, it will be 4 days later in the afternoon. We had also decided to relay the news about new laws and the police force which will be implemented. It was decided earlier by all the officials as they thought it will give a bigger impact among the populace. John thought a bit and spoke, okay, no need for any changes, bring me Tornwall and Jake later on. Both Tornwall and Jake arrived at John's chamber. John spoke to them, as you know, this is an important meeting so I will get straight on the topic of discussion. As you know we have already offended a lot of people and watching our weakness the royal family will likely make a move on us sooner or later. For such a situation I had already made a lot of preparations. This book in front of you is the latest weapon which I designed. I didn't take it out earlier as there was no need to bring it out and there was a problem of secrecy. No one apart from both of you knows about the existence of this weapon. First, Tornwall, I want you to make this weapon into multiple parts from which people will not be able to tell about the usage of this weapon. Everyone will only be involved in a single process which would reduce the leakage of all the information about this weapon. Second, Jake, I want you to create a force that would work directly under me. You will head the force and their most important task would be to collect information, internally as well as externally from both our enemies and allies. As for the funds, you can ask for them directly from Taylor. This weapon will first be introduced to your force. I hope you do a good job when you hire people for this force. Both of you can ask your questions now. John signaled as Tornwall asked him. Tornwall asked hesitatingly, Lord, when you said no one, did that include Ballista family and your masters Melanie and Vlad as well? John nodded and smiled as he spoke to both of them. Yes, no one knows about this weapon fully. Only you both know about it. I tried to divide the weapon and have George and Ron make the guns but they were unable to make it because of technological hurdles. However, you don't need to worry as they don't know about the formula of gunpowder to use this weapon. And because of the chances of leakage by the elders of Ballista family, I preferred to keep this a secret as long as we can. So what do you think about this weapon? Tornwall watched the designs very carefully as he gave his thoughts. I don't know about other things but these designs are very precise. As for other things we would have to test the gunpowder mentioned in the design. I had seen such a formula in Dwarf Kingdom but it was different from what I know. A lot of our guys were experimenting on that thing. John looked seriously at both of them. Quite true as you haven't tested this gunpowder, however, this would be one of the biggest military secrets of North Frontier Town so I prefer it to be classified. What is the progress of the machines in the brewery? I want you to focus on building these guns, ballistas, and runic shells of ballistas. Tornwall understood as they needed to be prepared. No worries, Lord, it is already built. I wanted to make its announcement 2 days later after running more tests, however it can start working if we want to proceed and focus more on weapons from now on. I have already given most of the work for wheelbarrows, bicycles and snowboards to the main workshop in the town and other small shops of Ron and George in the town. They were quite happy after getting the order of wheelbarrows as this increased their income. Recently George wanted to meet you but as you were busy, he wanted to pass on a message. John laughed after some good news. Ha ha ha, okay, I will meet him later on since it is important. It is good that we are ahead of schedule. You guys can go after having lunch since it is already late. Taylor, lead them both to the dining hall. I will be attending other matters. Bring me George's letter next time when you come with reports. John used all the experience points this time around to increase his authority in the system. Sarah replied in a cold voice, Congratulations to host for upgrading the system to the 3rd level. There will be increased features from now on. You have also received a free gift box. Congratulations to host by successfully acquiring North Frontier with the formation of various administrations in your domain. To encourage the host to make more transactio, I meant to develop his domain faster. From now on there will be a new feature called reputations and there will be goals which would give the host more access to the resources of the system. Reputation points will be divided into 2 parts. 1. Internal reputation points, this will only include your domain, your current reputation is 74/100. People are happy with your policies, however they are still worried about the winter. A tip of reminder, some people are collecting money in case you don't have any after spending it all, and 2. External reputation points. This will only include the Elias Kingdom for now. Excluding your own domain, your current reputation is 14/100 among the outside masses. Most people, this includes commoners, only take you as an upstart without any real power. From now on, you can acquire certain premium items after reaching a certain amount of reputation points. Your current goals are 1. Expand your territory successfully in the wilds. Awards would be upgrading authority level from now on. The next authority upgrade will cost you 10 million EXP points, so transact more. I mean achieve my goals, I meant your goals, due to the increased amount of transactions and successfully acquiring your own domain. From now on, you will gain experiences by developing your own town. This includes all the things, economic, social, cultural, political and military developments, instead of transactions, so don't nag as it was only the beginner's offer. Haha, you should have bought the blueprints earlier when you had the chance. 2. There is danger looming in the east. Successfully invade the eastern port to the north or acquire lands north of the eastern city to reveal the hidden danger. John thought in anger as he heard the new notifications. Did this bitch just jack up the prices so I spend more acquiring her expensive blueprints? I can't get free gifts from system upgrade? And what do you mean my goals? It's her goal obviously. The heck, no EXP from transactions from now on? Damn, I hate it, more work from now on. Well, thinking calmly, something is brewing up in East. Well, I still got some useful information, it might be related to that arrogant noble, Evan. I better increase my surveillance in the East Sea town from now on. Chapter 88. The day of testing ballistas and announcing new laws. John asked Taylor as he was busy checking the documents which were given by Tornwall and related to the ballistas, are all the preparations ready for the announcement of new laws as well the launch of our police force? Taylor gave one of his reports about the current situation in the town as he heard John. Yes, preparations are already made and people were already informed about it in the previous 3 days. A lot of people in the city are already excited because of the invention of a new weapon in our domain. However, a lot of people from outside the domain as well are especially traveling today to observe the current events that are related to new laws, the police force and the ballista testing in the name of trading and touring the city. I guess a lot of spies specially made a trip today to see the current events. John took the report and gave his opinion. Well, don't worry about them, it is natural for spies to infiltrate when major events take place. Master will handle them so we don't need to worry much. Has Jake started preparations to create the spy force which we needed? Taylor nodded and spoke. Yes, he has already started. I have already given him the initial funds that he required to start the organization. I have already given him the rule book which his men would have to follow in times of emergency. Today, later on, we have a meeting with George. I guess the situation really is important from how he is asking for an appointment these days. John thought a bit. Okay, there won't be a problem. We will see what is the matter when we talk to him. Jay instructed Joe and Marsh at the newly established police headquarters. Marsh, from now on, you will be the commissioner of North Frontier Town's whole police force, you will be directly answerable to me or Lord. While Joe will be in charge of training the new recruits while at the same time he will also be the chief crime scene investigator of this town. You will be handling all the major cases as well as report to me about anything unnatural you notice in the town. Since I am going to be the Minister of Internal Security Affairs from on, I will be trusting you guys and it will be a lot of work for everyone. However, you guys can enjoy today. I will be treating all our men. You guys have to remember that you have to follow the laws and not take your decisions based on your emotions. However, if it is something serious you can inform me on how to handle the matter. It will be the courts which will decide the punishments of convicts and criminals. Come, let's go to the square to witness the announcement of our force and the new laws. Joe cheered as he heard Jay and headed to give good news to all his mates. You are the best, Jay. I will immediately call all of our men to get ready for the ceremony. Marsh asked Jay, I can see that you have mostly picked local men or slaves from Lord's mansion for our force this time. I guess Lord is cautious when he is hiring men for important forces, right? Jay nodded as he said, well, it is good for now. We will have to work hard for the well-being of this town, so I expect no one to slack on their jobs, and this is also one of the reasons I have taken local men or slaves from Lord's mansion who wish to join the armed forces, who can't be bribed easily to betray their homeland or John himself. Joe arrived with all the men as they headed to the square where the ceremony was going to take place. Jay ordered as Joe arrived, okay, let's go. Meanwhile, Joe acted as he didn't hear Jay and headed to the square. Watching this scene, Marsh and a lot of men giggled as they knew Joe was quite dense on certain things. Jay sighed at this scene and spoke, I guess this works as well. Anyway, let's head out. At the square, all the officials were arriving for the upcoming ceremony. The ceremony was currently held in the whole street with Hope Restaurant as the center stage. Currently, Taylor was welcoming all the people who were coming in for the ceremony. This time Marquis Ray and Frank Morgan both came to today's ceremony after they heard from Joseph that John was going to upgrade the naval fleet of Morgan to protect his own interests. Marquis Ray asked Frank this time as he arrived at the city, Frank, what do you think about Joseph's letter where he mentioned that there was a newly developed weapon that is going to be presented today at the ceremony? Do you think the matter is as serious as he is portraying? Frank, I know for a fact that he won't be making a ruckus if it was only a minor improvement, so I think this time it would be quite worthwhile for us to come here. Though father was skeptical as he thought that because of reduction in resources, Joseph might be trying to pull something foolish to gain attention, however he thought this might as well give him a chance to further reduce his resources and teach him a lesson. However, that seems impossible from the way I am watching this town, because those resources won't affect him much. Marquis, quite true, this place has changed a lot from the last time I came here when we were asked by the royal family to clear the magical beasts in the north. This time I was quite happy with the roads and transportation which were recently made by Gordon and his team. I heard from my spies that this road was made by mixing a certain agent called cement and made into smooth roads, which we are watching right now. What do you say we employ them to make our roads from next year? Frank, I think it would be quite a good idea to have these roads built in our domain, as it would attract more traders from nearby the domains to come to our cities because of low maintenance costs as well as the low taxes which we could provide to them. I propose we employ them immediately if these roads are affordable. Currently, I am looking to find a good building to make an office headquarters in the north for Morgan family in North Frontier Town. I only came to this decision after looking at the reports from my men as well as watching this city firsthand today. If John showcases his real power from what is indicated by Joseph, then prices over here would increase as more small traders would be willing to shift their headquarters over here as they would believe in the protection of John. I think this is also one of the reasons why John has liberalized the real estate policy 2 days back in North Frontier Town. His idea of making big buildings to conserve space was quite novel. I wonder what sort of things are they using to make those huge buildings. The sheer amount of labor required to build this would be enormous unless you found another way that would require low labor. Marquis thought and said, now that you mentioned real estate, I too was quite surprised by the size of the learning institutions which John has recently made. I didn't think he could make his universities bigger than the Imperial University in the capital. I wonder what those people at Imperial University think after watching this spectacle. I think this recently made cement is one of the reasons they are able to make bigger and stronger buildings. Frank had other thoughts as he spoke, quite true, but I don't think it is only related to cement but many other factors with which they are able to construct those buildings. The newly created forge in the industrial area has impressed me quite a bit. From the looks of it, I think it was made by the advanced technology of the dwarves, since it was that dwarf named Tornwall who managed all the work over there. Marquis Ray thought and said, well, if the Dwarven Kingdom in the east gets the wind of it, they may try to kill that dwarf who disclosed those technologies. Well, there should be no worries, as most of us aristocrats have those dwarves who sold out some of the technologies in return of freedom, not to mention the royal family. Well, let's head to Hope and meet Joseph and John for now. Chapter 89. All the preparations for the ceremony were made and all the officials came on time. John spoke to Taylor as he noticed something peculiar. I see that a lot of merchants arrived here today to witness this event. Do you know any particular reason? Taylor responded as he understood John's concerns. Well, most of them hope to meet you or the other officials in charge of various industries in our domain. However, a lot of them have come to meet Refone after watching him make the newly designed buildings, plus many traders were also interested in the newly created paper which we were distributing in low quantities recently. And actually, it was the teachers at university who unintentionally bragged about the papers they were using in their classes to teach the students when they were arguing with visitors at Hope. Professor Haig, Glenn, and Prague have already agreed to our agreement to work at Rose University and hope to meet you in the future when you are free. It seems that our previous actions against Duke Evan made them accept our offer when we stood up for Jake. They were quite moved by your actions for standing up for your comrades. Professor Haig has already assumed the responsibilities as a principal over there. Meanwhile, Professor Liam had already assumed his responsibilities as the arithmetic professor in the university. However, he particularly wanted to meet you, saying that Lord John should only pursue the ultimate truth in researching arithmetic. John smiled a bit and asked, what were their opinions on our printing technology and our promise? How did they respond? Taylor remembered his previous encounter with Glenn. Professor Glenn in particular was quite enthralled after watching the printing techniques, and from now on he is going to vouch by using his own credibility for printing resources when we are going to poach other professors, which we really need. He was particularly happy and saying it's good that we screwed those old men at the Capitol big time. John ordered Taylor, okay, it seems that everyone has arrived, go and tell the presenter to commence the ceremony and announce the laws. Jay and all of his men have already arrived. He needs to be introduced as a Minister of Internal Security and Affairs. It can be seen that he has already decided that Marsh is going to behead the police force after looking at his clothes. I hope we don't face any problems till the Ballista testing. Taylor answered and headed to the presenter that started the ceremony. As you wish, my lord. We will immediately commence the ceremony and introduce the new officials to the local populace, and we can see that they also are quite enthusiastic about the new laws and the new internal police force that will particularly handle internal matters. Traders were quite happy with the establishment of courts to settle their small disputes. At the ending of ceremony and the police parade, Taylor announced to everyone, recently we had a big breakthrough in making arms, and today we have decided to display it in front of everyone, with which it can assure the people that Lord has taken enough measures when it comes to the protection of domain. To remove people's concerns, we have decided to display our new created weapon. We have also decided to deploy those weapons in the Morgan family naval fleet in a show of good faith. Those who are interested in watching the testing of weapons can head to the border of the town with us and watch its might and splendor. This weapon was specially created by Lord John and it is named as a ballista. It was later on further improved by Chief Forger of the town Tornwall, who just recently arrived at our town. Marquis Ray thought at the end of the ceremony, these laws are quite interesting. By creating subsidies for the local farmers, he has successfully reduced the burden for people and found a loophole to exploit and benefit his own people. And for the slaves as well. It seems he intends to protect them by claiming them as his own property, and anyone harming his property could be seen as his potential enemy. It seems he is quite confident in his weapons, and hence the forceful approach this time when he introduced these laws. From this event, I can see that there has been a lot of civil laws that I was unaware of that could be implemented in our domain. The non-discriminatory laws for various species will irk a lot of religions particularly. Even the royal family was always vague when it came to the discriminatory doctrine of churches, and the royal family never mentioned anything when it came to other species, so it always remained vague. From this, it can be seen that he intends to continue his collaboration with demons and other species openly by announcing these laws. By the creation of civil courts, he has successfully created a lot more jobs directly and indirectly. It was quite surprising to see Prince Lukov and his right-hand man Duncan arriving here. It's good that our men were able to spot him in his disguise. I guess John as well knows about it and intends to meet him later on. Come, let's head to the border and see what this new weapon is all about. I am quite sure Hector and his men are also here and watching all the current events. Glenn thought as he heard the laws. After hearing the new laws, this place seems a lot more interesting. The very creation of the printing machine would create waves across the whole kingdom if anyone heard about it, not to mention these new weapons. There are a lot of new creations happening in this town. It is certainly creating or would at least create waves and doubts in the minds of a lot of people. I wonder what would be reactions of all the nobles going to Prince Hector's banquet 5 days later. What do you think, Principal Haig? Professor Haig seriously said, from my personal experience, I feel that Baron John is courageous as well as a calculating man. However, sometimes he acts on his emotions as well, from how he protected that fighter named Jake a few days back. And one thing is for sure, there will be a lot of changes occurring in this kingdom after this performance. From my personal point of view, I didn't dislike it when Baron acted based on his emotions last time around, because a cold, ruthless man may abandon his men at a chance of profit. Prince Lukov, it seems Giorgio was quite on the target when he said that Baron John was an interesting man, as he didn't make preconceived judgments when he met him earlier. However, was it really necessary to come in disguised outfits when we were only here to make a deal and tour this town? Duncan rolled his eyes and spoke in a rebuke. Do you want this one to die an early death as well? Remember this, he is surrounded by enemies on all sides, since everyone is eyeing his businesses, which includes the royal family. I am sure the royal family deploying an ambassador and a part of the Night Order here at Dolores was part of a plan to attack when they are unaware. You might already know that Duke Fjord was quite pissed with John when he heard that a slave's life was valued more than a noble's honor, when Baron John decided to protect his slave instead of protecting Evan's honor. Meanwhile, that ambassador is present here today. Lukov smiled and spoke, well, that was also one of the reasons why I decided to come here and meet him personally. It's good that Black Tiger just died recently and a lot of nobles are focused on his assassination that took place instead of keeping their eyes elsewhere. Duncan understood and said, well, we still need to be cautious and keep our disguise, we shouldn't take any risks. Well, let's head to the border and see what new weapon he has created. Lukov laid his thoughts, well, good or bad, we will buy those in a show of good faith. I also wanted to collaborate with him and that old hag, since the Radiant Church has put a ban on me and my men for quite a few years when it comes to healing services. I particularly wanted to buy those papers in huge quantities that I used previously, as I felt they were a lot better compared to the ones that we usually use. Chapter 90. Duncan thought about one of his reports as he spoke. I don't think that would be a problem, since I heard from Giorgio recently that John had rejected Church's offer as they tried to impose their wishes on him where they didn't like the presence of demons and other species. Recently, Grand Podewunner Melanie was also seen at the newly made university, where she usually conducted classes once a week on basic of herbology. From the looks of it, John intends to fight back the Radiant Church by creating medicine and potions if they ever face a crisis. Lukov, Duncan, and all the other spectators arrived at the scene where the tests were going to take place. Taylor announced to everyone present at the site, this is one of the weapons that we created recently. Because of a lot of reasons we were forced to disclose this invention of ours. The initial design was made by Lord John, which was later on improved by Forge Master of the town Tornwall by using his special craft in runes. He just recently arrived at the town. Well, I won't go into the details. I think it would be better to show rather than talk, as you guys would be better able to judge this weapon after watching it with your own eyes. Just previously, we announced that we will arm the Morgan naval fleet at the cost price. This is also to protect our and Morgan family's trade interests, as we believe in this weapon. Well, we had enough of small chit-chat, so we will get on to the important show. Forge Master Tornwall, please present the weapon. The ballista was bought in a carriage with at least 10 men guarding it. After the ballista was brought to the place for testing, Tornwall gave orders to men precisely so they could prepare to fire it. Tornwall gave orders to men, Place the arrow correctly at a 45-degree angle. Tornwall then continued to present, as you all can see, our target is 350 meters away from us. Even for archers it is quite hard to shoot the target that far away with so much lethality. Let me show you first, as this will let you know about the lethality of this weapon. Our target is that big tree 350 plus meters away from us. All the preparations are made. Fire at the count of 5. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Tornwall roared his order to the soldier after the preparations were made. Fire. After the first shot, there were a lot of exclamations from the crowd. Marquis Ray was full of excitement as he watched this weapon live in action. It seems we are really onto something new and great this time around. I didn't think we could see a weapon that could be on par with magicians. It was good that we followed your decision to travel here. I am quite sure your father would be regretting his actions if he watches this weapon live. From the looks of it, your son had good instincts when he decided to invest in John before. However, I don't know how this weapon would fare, as it could be a piece of hot iron which could be too hot for them if they aren't prepared. Frank said it looks like Joseph's instincts were right from the onset. It's good that I was not biased, as I knew he wouldn't joke when it comes to important matters. The very fact that John has decided to deploy this weapon on Joseph's fleet is good enough, and it would be very useful against pirates in our northern trade route. Previously I was worried that if Duke Laguna II starts his raids, then it would be very costly for us and we would have to keep a distance from Joseph, since it would be catastrophic for us in regards to sailors or fleet if the losses outweighed the gains. This very distance of 350 meters would be a game changer in naval warfare for our fleet. Prince Lukov meanwhile laid out his hypothesis to Duncan. I guess this weapon was also one of the reasons why John precisely bought the best archers at Pearl City, since he had already made those weapons. I just get chills wondering how further back his plans went if he already possessed such a weapon from such a long time when he was only making soaps. I guess he was quite happy buying a domain without any time or military exploits, as it was such a hot potato. What do you think, Duncan? Duncan spoke, a smile on his face. Indeed, his purchase of slaves confirmed me one thing: he possessed this weapon a long time before he bought those slaves, or he possesses a weapon that is much more lethal than this current weapon called Ballista, and it seems he is preparing something big, as a lot of lords in the north are recently gathering up to target him, as he is making a lot of profits recently from soap, restaurant, tourism, and paper businesses. That very declaration of his laws earlier was very challenging to the royal family, though he didn't violate any rules, as he found out a lot of loopholes which he can use to exploit for his own goals and benefits. I don't think a lot of people will be happy with that. I wonder your brother Hector would react to this situation 5 days later. Lukov rebuked as he mentioned Duke Fjord as he laid out his thoughts. The very reason Duke Fjord sent Evans was so that he could get a pie in his business by offering him protection and investment, as it is no wonder a lot of people are eyeing John's businesses, or he hoped Evan fucks something up and he gets a chance to loot Morgan family legally in the seas. I am just wondering how he would react after his previous declaration on making John pay if he knows about this weapon. Duncan spoke. I guess he only wanted a reason to launch attacks on Morgan family fleet previously. I am very sure. Now he would try to ally with Black Wolf if he wants to keep his face, and he might also be worried about his losses if he tries to engage them in seas. Though they have a great fleet and great men, however, this weapon would exponentially change how battles on water would play out from now on. Lukov saw Duel and his men and commented, from the looks of those men, I guess they already knew about this weapon, as they aren't showing any shocked expressions. I wonder how is he doing nowadays? Duncan sighed as he heard about the word master. Lord, he still doesn't consider you as his friend or anyone, he only considers you someone who he met on his journey and passed some techniques. Duncan saw Lukov's scary face as he tried to change the topic. Okay, I won't babble more on that. From the looks of it, it seems Duke Southern Forest also sent some of his men here to watch this event. From the looks they weren't interested at first, so I think they were only here to witness the new laws. Lukov spoke in a cussing tone when he mentioned both of them. I am more concerned about those bastards from royal family, that is the ambassador and that bishop from Radiant family, conspiring together something. Duncan saw the ambassador. I don't think we have to be worried that much since both the royal family and Radiant Church has different aspirations and goals, so both of them allying is definitely impossible. Lukov had a serious face as he laid his thoughts. However, they can still make agreements on certain matters. Maybe the royal family doesn't want paper and printing as much as the Radiant Church, so I always feel they might always conspire something. Well, it's good that we still have our spies on both sides. Just increase our observation on the royal family's side for now, because I am sure they will strike last but very lethally at a perfect time.